season, while Dak and the boys couldn't get a long-term deal done. Jerry Jones said he wasn't shocked when Mahomes and Watson got paid, saying, quote, "There have been no surprises here. No surprises in Mahomes and Watson. They just happen to be arguably two of the top players in the National Football League. Prospective players and, however you want to define them, play key positions. And so I would say that you see no surprise here at all." Marcellus, keep it real with me, bro. Keep it real.
Do I ever not?
You don't, and that's what I love about you.
Man.
Is Jerry Jones throwing shade at Dak Prescott here?
No, he's not throwing shade.
What's he doing then?
You fell for it, and unfortunately, I think a lot of our society falls for this.
What they fall for?
Oh, man. When you were in Dallas, when I was a Dallas Cowboy, one thing I found true is that no matter what the story, people were going to find the angel, or more importantly, the devil in every story situation. When you're a Dallas Cowboy, that light is so intense, that light is so bright, that they're looking for microfibers to just blow up on shows and make them topics. Oh, guilty. And we're going to blow this one out of proportion. The love for other guys and respect for other guys who are top players in this league does not translate into hate for Dak. But you are going to probably take it to that place to say, that must be a slight. How dare you like something over there? You can't fully appreciate what's over here. I keep telling you this, and these are the words out of Jerry Jones's mouth. Quote, "I reiterate, our thinking now and in the future is to have Dak as our quarterback." But no, that's not good enough for you. But I've learned in our, month or two?
What have you learned? We're about 2 months.
And there's one thing you got a soft spot for.
Talk to me.
In terms of really internalizing my points.
Okay.
Wileyism. So here's a Wileyism for you, damn it. This is Dak Prescott's mindset right now. Life is a competition between you and yourself. Dak is running a race by himself. He is not in the same race with Patrick Mahomes. He's not in the same race with Deshaun Watson. Let me break this down for you.
Please.
Because I had a track coach.
Please.
And you know, we were national champions, track, LA Jets in the building. Shout out to Coach James, talking to us, coaching us, and saying, never get psyched out. And we didn't know what the hell that meant. We're 11 years old. No one could beat us. And he said, this is psyched out. When you run a race, but you're really running that race in relationship to somebody else.
Okay.
Case in point, whatever your PR is, you run that, and we don't expect it all the time, but we expect you to be in that range. But what happens when we put you next to a fast guy? What happens when we put you in a race out of the lane that you prefer? Are you all of a sudden going to get disturbed mentally? Dak Prescott's not getting disturbed by what Patrick Mahomes is doing in lane 4. He's not disturbed by what Deshaun Watson is doing in lane 5 because he has one race to win and one lane to run it in. That's why I'm not disturbed. No shade.
While you might not be disturbed, while Dak might not be disturbed, Jerry Jones is absolutely and unequivocally throwing shade here. Marcellus, there is a quote that I believe rings ever presently true, especially in this moment. Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And see, out of the overflow of Jerry Jones's heart, his mouth is speaking. I don't hear Jerry Jones calling Dak Prescott one of the top 2 or arguably one of the top players in the National Football League. He says he likes Dak a lot, sure. He says Dak is our quarterback of the future, sure. But there's a difference between saying that and saying he is arguably one of the best players in the league. Marcellus, you oftentimes, sir, remind me, along with the rest of the world, about my singleness. And I internalize this quote because I'm sensitive. And if we're in a relationship, if I'm in a relationship, what you checking for other dudes for? Jerry, Dak got muscles too, Jerry. Dak wears his bow ties. Dak is a company man. What is Dak Prescott doing that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes are doing better? At least what is Dak Prescott doing that Deshaun Watson is doing better? I understand what Mahomes has accomplished, but Jerry, you're in a relationship with me, Dak Prescott. Jerry, you should love me, Dak Prescott. And Jerry, you don't, because you're speaking of other men, Jerry Jones, at a higher capacity than you were speaking of me, Dak Prescott. It is shade, Marcellus. There's no way you can slice it. There's no way you can dice it. It's shade like a palm tree in the middle of the desert.
Look, if somebody, first of all, what's the universal love language in sports?
Money.
Money.
Moolah.
Moolah, baby. If someone walks up to you and says, you know what, I'm going to pay you this week, exactly what I paid you last year in total. Every week, Dak's gonna make what he made last year in total. Like around $2 million, little under $2 million every week. Jerry Jones walked up to Dak and said, what have you made in your entire career on the field? I'm gonna give you 8 times that for 1 year. Come back and I'm gonna give you even more next year. But I've learned this about you, Acho, because you know, you've been my boy for what, 4 or 5 years? I've been knowing you for a minute.
That's true. That's
you
true.
don't know your worth. Huh? You don't know what you're worth. Huh? I saw your Fox contract. You don't know what you're worth. You don't know what it's about. I'm gonna help you out, youngster, because I saw this happen in some of my investment experience and knowing some of the top VCs in the world.
Talk to me.
Do you remember 2012 when a company was sold to Facebook by the name of Instagram? Do you know how much they were sold for in 2012? What were you, like 9 years old, 10 years old?
I'm gonna say 200 mil.
200 million?
At the time.
Once again, you don't know worth. They sold for $1 billion. They were a unicorn. Hip, hip, hooray. Two co-founders, so they probably, neither one is a billionaire at that time, but $1 billion. And most people were applauding. And then I looked a little deeper and saw some people doing golf claps like, I would hold on if I were you. But who's going to sneeze at $1 billion? You know what they were valued at just a couple years ago, 2018? 100 billion. I don't want to talk to you about anything else. Know your worth. Dak Prescott is not worried about what someone else is doing and how they cash in their checks. He already is on pace to make more than anybody.
This is the first time I've thought about this, and it was while you were uttering your first stanza here. You said that Jerry Jones went to Dak Prescott and said, Dak, I'm going to offer you every week what you made in totality last year. But remember, Jerry didn't choose to do that. What's the franchise tag? Last time I checked, and again, last time I checked, the franchise tag, it should be the average of what the top 5 at that position are making, correct?
Right.
So if the top 5 at that position were making less, Jerry would have paid Dak less. Jerry didn't dictate how much he wanted to pay Dak. The NFL and the franchise tag dictated how much Jerry had to pay Dak by tagging Dak. So you can't consistently use Jerry Jones and what he is paying Dak as your strongest argument, because Jerry didn't dictate what he paid Dak. The NFL and what everybody else actually paid the other top-tier quarterbacks dictated what they paid Dak.
Boy, if I didn't know Freddie Roach as well as I do, I wouldn't know how to bob and weave all these punches you throwing at your boy. Jerry looking at Dak like, you know I want you forever. This is why. The NFL is forcing me to only give you $31 million. I've already offered you $35 million per year, but you want a commitment not as long as I do. I want to give you the ring and things. I wanted 5 years, Dak. You only want 4 years, and that's why we're at an impasse. This is not about worth to Jerry Jones. He knows what Dak is worth. I just read you the quote. He believes in Dak. It's just Dak wants to re-up a little faster than Jerry.
Let me ask you just a point-blank question. So you have no issue with the fact that we haven't heard Jerry Jones talk about Dak like this, but Jerry Jones is talking about Deshaun and Mahomes like this. Let me ask you a better question, because I already know your answer to that.
I'm about to say,
do you think it's coincidence that Jerry Jones didn't say along with Dak Prescott? Again, if we can go to the quote one more time, at least the end of the quote, in talking about no surprises in Mahomes and Watson, they just happen to be arguably 2 of the top players in the National Football League. He could have said along with Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones is one of the smartest men in the world. He could have easily said they just happen to be arguably